of truth.
This is the moment of truth.
Right, it looks like it's happening.
It looks like it's happening. We are actually live, party people. So, can you put it on speaker view?
All right.
And I did. Hello.
Hi.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to the Bedtime Story.
To the Bedtime Stories.
10 p.m. Do you know where your children are? They should be in bed.
If they're not, get their asses in bed right now. Yes, Amani.
Speaking of children,
My children
I'm Red.
Is setting behind Sid Rose.
And this is Bedtime Stories. Welcome.
Stories. What does that mean?
We've got some very lovely and wonderful special guests with us this evening. Let's see. We have the one and only Mr. John Best from the infamous Club Shelter.
Yes, and we also have Mr. Well, I like to call him KJ Action. Khahim Johnson.
Yeah, action is that.
So welcome and thank you for being here, and thank you to all our friends that are here joining us right now. If you have any questions for John or Khahim, please be sure to add them in the chat, and we'll try to get them in there if there's something that seems appropriate. So we just like to give a few minutes for folks to log on. If you're on there, please just tell a friend, hit that little airplane on the bottom, hit share, let folks know that you're here watching Bedtime Stories with us, and thank you for joining us. All right, I'm super excited to have both of you here. I told Greg that when we were like talking about so both of you were on the short list, so we still haven't gotten through the short list. When we first came up with this idea of let's do bedtime stories, we were like, who do we want to hear stories from? And that is what I call the short list. And both of you gentlemen were definitely on that list.
Master list.
The original list of we gotta hear from, and both of you were there.
And what people wouldn't know is that John is good for telling a story when you didn't ask him to. So I'm like, so what happens if we ask him to? Let's see how that goes.
Yeah, that's exactly how
I call them. What do I call it, John? Nightlife Stories with John Best. Yeah.
But I want to say, and it might get long. It might drag out longer than I want it to. But I just want to comment on something I heard last week with Hector and Kim. And Hector was talking about the scene and how it's so different in Europe than it is in America. And I would say that I share a little bit of difference from guys like Hector, well, any DJ that's traveled, because I've been around not as a DJ, but as someone working in the clubs and foreign places and things like that. So I see it differently than someone who gets off an airplane, goes to dinner with the company, goes to the gig, and just kind of hang out afterwards. And in connection to what he said last week, the reason why the club scene in America isn't good is because we shot ourselves in the foot. It was the DJs that destroyed what we have in America now. And so if you want to find out what's wrong with the scene, all you DJs, and I mean every single one of you, need to look in the mirror, because you are the guys that destroyed it. And what I mean by that is when you go to places like I was in London in 1984 when the rave started. I was in Japan in 1988 when the house scene started. And the difference between there and here is that they work together. American DJs, all of these house people, all the spiritual, all this crap, we shot each other in the back every chance we got. And so what happens is they would book a DJ, they'd have you come over, they'd have you do the gig, and then they ship your ass out right afterwards. The thing that I'm trying to get at is that in foreign countries, promoters work together, whether they like each other or not. In America, everyone's trying to be exclusive. They don't want to share. And this is why we don't have a scene here, because the Europeans and the Japanese and the Chinese, all these places, they work together. They made money together, and then they hated each other from apart, but after they made the money. In America, everybody's shady. And this is why they took, it's like they took everything that we gave them, they made it a working apparatus, and then they shut us out. You go to Europe now, they don't call us in Europe anymore. They barely call us in Asia anymore. Why? Because they have their own working apparatus. And this is something I just wanted to say. It gets deeper than that, but it was us that killed our scene.
And on that, ladies and gentlemen, sips tea.
You know, it's funny that you say that, because like I've had this similar conversation with like Mr. V. And one of the things that we talked about in particular was like the in the house scene specifically, right? How people are not like, you know, there really is enough for everybody. There's enough for everybody. And only when we work together more and bring each other together more and do stuff with each other more is how it grows.
Right.
So I agree with you 100%. Like, but I don't fault that purely on the DJs.
Well,
I fault that on the entire community, on us entirely. Like, it's not just the DJs, in my opinion.
That's the whole community. That's the whole community.
That's the whole
cycle.
It's the whole community that's here. But it's a whole community that's here. But what happens is that when those DJs go abroad, they represent the scene. So it's you know, when I was in London, and especially when I was in Japan, I wasn't in Japan as a customer. I was there managing clubs, running clubs there. And what I seen was that the thing that made it so difficult for the for what made it so difficult for the, when I say the DJs did that, the DJs would come to a foreign country and they would see how smoothly everything went. They seen how they could seamlessly walk from the airport into a hotel, into a nightclub, out of the nightclub and back on the plane with a paycheck. And they brought none of that knowledge back to where they live. This is what they do when it's the other way around. Because when you think about it, the Japanese, back in the 80s, and let's go back before the Japanese became a big thing. When the English were controlling the nightclubs like Nels and these places, these other little places we used to go to.
Yeah.
When they came, they looked at how we ran things and they took it back. So what they took back and what they indoctrinated in their system was unity.
Right.
They didn't get that unity from us, but they knew that that's what had to happen for something to work. Now, the only people that, like when a DJ comes to goes to a foreign country, he's not bringing the crowd with him. He's bringing himself. And so if you're thinking about the bigger picture, like when you're home, then you take things about why things work in foreign countries. If you don't bring that home with you, I have to fault you.
Right.
There's no one else. Cynthia, Red, myself, Khahim, that's a different story. He was there. But Khahim knows what I'm saying. But, you know, they didn't bring a crowd with them, but you're supposed to bring back something from your trip.
Right.
And if you don't bring back the knowledge of something, if you see something that's working well and you're not bringing that back, then in a way you're cheating us too.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm not trying to make no friends here, and I mean,
Love it.
we didn't ask you here because you ever made friends.
I know, and you know, and the thing is that, you know, it wasn't like I wasn't there, and Khahim, he was there the same way. I wasn't there one day. I wasn't there a month. I was in these places for years. And I watched the promoters do things. I watched how the DJs in their country did things.
Right.
And they made, you know, I give you an example of what I mean about coming back here and how things work. Okay, so you go to a foreign country, when you play in a foreign country, you don't have a guest list because you don't know nobody in that club. You don't know anybody in that place, right? So if you have a guest list,
Right, Khahim, here we go.
Right?
It's
You
like
come
one-
back here, you
Exactly.
do a party, you got a guest list with 200 people. How are you supporting the people? How are you supporting the establishment?
Right.
You know?
True.
So those are the little things that it turns into big things. Because, you know, you come from a working system and then you come back and you contribute to a broken system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you wonder why the Europeans don't need us anymore.
I always kind of thought about how we let everyone else gain on what we do.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Not just the music, the dance. I mean, almost anything that we've ever done.
Exactly.
We let anyone else come from Lithuania come here and build a castle in their country, classes, teaching, doing whatever, they're making parties, and then they don't need the DJ, they don't need the dancer, they don't need none of it anymore because they're the official voice on it now. And also because a lot of times we don't show unity amongst ourselves and people see it right away. When they come here and they're mingling with us, they see that there's like the DJs, like he said, the DJs. I think Timmy is the only DJ I know that's put money behind a club. Anyone else, I've never seen any DJ from New York go put his own money in the club. Maybe a partnership like Cielo and Louis, not trying to make any enemies, like I said, like he said too. But I mean, I don't think I've seen any DJ put his money where his mouth is, so to say, put it behind in the scene in New York City. So, and there's so many that come from the city and they go to the same places around the world to make money. They all go to the same places to make money, and
Everybody's playing
we have it all here.
Right.
in Paris. Everybody's playing at Jejune in Paris. Everybody's playing at fucking Paradiso in Amsterdam. Everybody's playing at absolutely.
So there should have easily been. I've always thought this. Every time Timmy kind of put, I'm saying Timmy because this is what I've seen, but anytime he's put his foot behind an environment, whether it was 39th Street or whether it was Hubert Street or whether it was Varick or, you know, I mean, yeah, Varick, whatever place. I didn't understand why he didn't have 3, 4, 5 DJs getting behind it with him. Known and traveling DJs, you know, that are also making money abroad, because they should have a home spot. We should have that go-to spot in New York City, you know, or somewhere in this, in even in the States, even if it was LA, if that was the case. But there should be that haven when you come.
Right.
When you come from abroad and like, oh yeah, this is what they, instead we're scattered. Everybody's kind of doing their own little thing. So we got all these different little pockets and cliques and vibes, and they take that and they go back where they go and they make it work for them. And they, not only do they make it work, they make it mainstream. They make it like, you know, I'm paying my tax, I'm living, I got a corporation, I'm putting my kids in private school with this kind of stuff. And we're here fighting each other or not supporting or bringing a half a bottle of vodka in the club, want to be on the guest list, or, you know, this. So
Yeah, no,
we can't, it's not just the DJ, John. It's
No.
the whole cycle. It's everybody not supporting.
the cycle, but the cycle,
Everybody not supporting everybody.
right? But the cycle that you're talking about is here, and that I agree with you. You know, but the thing is that somebody has to be the sheep herder. Someone has to lead the animals, or whatever you want to call us. Someone has to be the leader here. And because no one took that, we don't have that. It's kind of like, you know, we sent, you know, and I'm making a joke now, but it's kind of like we try to create the house scene with Donald Trump. And you know that we're not getting nowhere with that.
Yeah.
No, and you know, I've seen DJs in like when I was in London when the rave started. I hung out with Noel Watson, and I was more friends with Maurice Watson than Noel. But I hung out with these guys who started doing their thing at Battle Beach Road, and they went from one thing to the next, and then they started there. Then David Piccioni was there with Black Market Records, Ricky Morrison, all these guys I hung around with. And I seen them, even if they didn't really care for each other. When it came to making a kill, which is having a big event, they all got together and they all put the shade to the side to make this successful. And then if they needed to lean on us in America, they did. But soon as they didn't need us anymore, they kicked us to the curb. And that's not supposed to be the position that we're in for something we started.
And I'll say, John, what you said about somebody has to take the lead, even some people who have tried to take the lead, then you have to, like what you're saying, then other people have to kind of follow the lead. That's where the issue would come. A lot of people have tried to take the lead, but then it's a matter of, no, I don't want to share this, or I don't want to give this, or I don't want to lose this within that. That's where it gets so.
That's the difference between.
I got a question for everybody. Is this a problem in the scene, or is this a cultural problem that we have in almost everything we do?
I think that,
that we can't gather ourselves. We can't support each other in numbers. I'm not talking me and you, John, or Cynthia and Red, or I'm talking in big numbers.
Right. That's a question. You're talking life.
The truth.
Seeing the other because that's why the other places work. That's why all these other little specks in the grass work. These little countries that never did nothing, they working because they see something, they see the light, and they go all in together. That's why it works.
That's right.
That's a problem that we don't. I'm here in Brazil. I'm gonna give you an example. I'm here in Brazil, so they bring. I'm not gonna say no names because I don't want to throw nobody on the bus, but they bring in DJs here, and you gotta get a visa to come, right? Back or now they've kind of changed that a little bit, but you need a visa. So not everywhere you go, you always need a visa coming from America. So of course, our people, this DJ I'm saying is a black person, black people, they forget all that until the last minute. So then they want to try to go get a visa, but they can't get it. Or they arrive in the airport and they go, a visa? Oh, I didn't know I had to get the visa. So they jackass the whole event, everything, because they didn't even organize themselves enough to do that. So it's like, it's not being smart business, or you're not trying to win for the long haul, you're trying to win for the moment. And that whole thing, I think, is something that unfortunately, it's something that we lacking culturally overall, because otherwise we should be a lot more stronger in everything that we do. Because I had this conversation a little bit with Stretch and Henry when Just Taboo was trying to get them to pay them to use their mark in New York. And I'm like, how is that possible? How are you guys, the innovators, the dudes, your resumes is long. Everybody can see your resume. Anybody that's alive in the last 20, 30 years can see the resumes dancers, and that they were in the forefront of everything. And Just Taboo, Bruce, whatever, he learned, he came here, stayed here for whatever amount of time, got his whole concept, his whole idea, went back to his country, and his shit is huge.
I give you
and then he comes back here and says, look, okay, I'm going to help you out. You're going to pay me for my mark, and we're going to make a good party. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I
give you an example.
I don't know how that's possible.
I give you an example how
that's because we're doing something wrong.
We're doing something, and then I'll get to add to that. I'll give you an example of how a huge event got pimped out by someone who's not even American, and that's Body and Soul. That shit's never supposed to have happened with a guy from England who lives in the fucking country.
There's a lot of that. Cynthia knows some other events going around too. I mean, it happens. And you know what? I'm not even mad at them, because they're just being smart. They're not being sneaky or they're not doing nothing sly. They're just being smart.
Right. I give him his props for doing that, but he was never supposed to do that. Right. He was never supposed to have that much command.
Yeah. There wasn't even supposed to be room for that. That slot wasn't even supposed to be available.
No, that wasn't supposed to happen. But what happens is the Americans are a sucker for an English accent, so they went for it. And no disrespect.
No, the Americans just ain't wait for it to happen.
No disrespect. I mean, it is what it is, and you see the pieces of the puzzle, and you can put them together, and you do it successfully. We can't be mad at that. No, but it doesn't change what you're saying.
But what we're good at, what we are good at is that we created something that has went worldwide, that has created some kind of energy wide. We've created, I mean, this scene that we grew up in, or we've been a part of in whatever aspect, babies have come out of it, families. I mean, a lot of things. We've saved people's lives, even in some instances, with the scene. I know for me, it was a life changer figuring out the scene when I was, 14, 15 years old, coming out of roller skating. And so in that sense, we're good at that. But to follow through, make a business and make a living out of it, we're kind of weak in that element. We need to figure that one out. So the DJs, like you said, or the dancers, or whoever, whatever aspect, the singers that are a part of this scene, they had to go for the survival mode, and they started going to Japan or to Europe or to whoever was paying, whoever was supporting, whoever was helping them stay alive, pretty much. Because back home it was like, oh, homie, you doing the show tomorrow? All right, I'm gonna list +5. All right, and I'm bringing my liquor. Yeah, and I'm not supporting the party Neuma. So because we people, right? We good. You got a lot of bread. You're all right. You don't need me.
Then that's the thing.
But 10 people, 20, now you got 200 people talking about that. That's a tough call.
That's it.
I mean, there are some people you got to give. I believe that probably everyone deserves a little love, but not all at the same time. So you got to kind of rotate it or something. You got to kind of like say, look, we got. I mean, the garage wasn't about that shit. The garage about you got one member and you got one guest. Right. So you sort it out.
That's right.
Sort it out for yourself. Figure it out. You got one. Did you hear what I said? One.
One.
Yes.
But that's
Oh.
the point. We don't, you know.
Nah, but nowadays it's not these. I know Sydney, then especially probably Red too, knows how that is to be at the door. I'm glad I never had to sit at the door because I'd probably be cursing motherfuckers out. I would not be able to sit at the door.
Yeah.
And then I'd be like, look, you're paying. That's it. I don't care who you're with. All right. You good? Oh, you're Michael Jackson. All right, that's cool. He pays too. You got money then. You paying.
Cynthia is much nicer than me at the door.
You know,
But that's the,
that, you know, a part of that, what you're describing has to do with us being like short-sighted. And also there's a part of it also that has to do with us being originators of something, right? So when you don't have a model to follow and you're creating a model, sometimes in that environment, what happens is things get convoluted. People will come and say, oh, word, this is the model, and they'll take that model and run with it. But you created that model, right? So I think that that happens a lot. And that's one of the things, or one of the reasons why we're like in this position and feeling this way about our scene, right?
and then they become competitive.
But I know what
Then they
Sid is saying, and
Then they come competitive. That was one I dealt with in the 90s in Japan with the dancers. Was like everybody's charging 500. Then the one dude goes, no, I'll do it for 4. Then the next time, nobody can charge more than 5. Then the next one time, the guy says, I'll do it for 3 because he hasn't had work in a minute. Now nobody can charge more than 3, so they fuck themselves because they don't even stick together. I tried to unite them. Like, look, stick to guns. Everybody charges the same price and don't go from that, or you're gonna kill yourselves. No, they don't do that. Or they do. Or sometimes the originator goes to your head and you get a gig that's paying crazy, and you decide to be a superstar about it and you blow the gig.
and when I was
Oh no, they're doing that because I'm black. Oh no, they're doing that because they think they could get away with murder. I said, no, it's business. It's business, bro. You got to calm down. You're not a rock star. Take the job. Let's go. Let's act like a rock star the next go. This one, let's try to get this one down.
in Japan,
I tried to.
What was it? in the 90s, I was there from 1988, and around that time, I was DJing in clubs, and you know, I didn't have to make $3,000 a night. $1,000 was good. $500 was good. You know, and what the Japanese started to do is, instead of investing in DJs that could play or had some idea what to do, all these kids that used to be in what's that record shop that was down in that Joe Claussell was at?
Oh, dope.
Down on West 3rd Street and
Yeah.
West First, whatever. Well, anyway,
Dance Tracks. Wasn't it Dance Tracks?
Dance Track, yeah, maybe. I used to bring kids from Japan. I used to come and bring them here, and
Dance Track.
They would come with $5,000, $6,000, $10,000 US, and Joe would sell them the whole fucking store. And they would take all these records back, and they started going to the club owners and saying, hey, you know what? I got all this music from New York, and I want to play at your club. I'll do it for free. Huh. And at that point, they just cut everybody out because they didn't know much about house anyway. So it didn't matter whether you were playing it right or wrong, as long as you were playing house and they didn't have to pay you. That's what they did. So they just
free. You can't beat free. Can't beat that. Can't compete with that.
But the whole thing on top of that was that they didn't have to worry about a guest list. One of our biggest problems here, and I'm not saying it because I'm who I am at the door at Shelter, but that's one of the biggest problems we have. These 200-person guest lists, you know, and so we don't support properly. We support if we get in free, but we don't support because I
It's
like
cultural too, because if you go to Europe, if you go to Japan, if you go here in Brazil, I could go out on a date with a chick. She's automatically try to pay her part at least. So they used to, and it's not a tipping country.
right.
France is not a tipping country. Japan is not a tipping country. So it's a, how can I say? It's a manners. It's their manners. Their culture is different about how they feel. Like, at least I got to take care of me. I'm not trying to, take care of everybody, but I got to at least be responsible for me. But we have a mentality that someone has to look out for us, because we are. You got to, John. You got to look out for me, because you know who I am.
Well, I gotta say this.
Cynthia, you know who I am. I'm just arrived. I just got here. You got to look out instead of just saying, "Yo, what is it? 10? Okay, no problem. There's a 10. Support that."
It's a double-edged
And then
sword.
Cynthia or John or Red, like, you know what? I know who you are. I'm a little drink ticket. You good?
But it's a double-edged sword.
Sometimes give a gift. That's different, but we expect more. And I've been in other countries when we're traveling or living, and people just assume their part no matter what. They could be broke as fuck, but they're gonna pay their part. They're gonna try at least. They're gonna say, no, I got this. I got, let's share it. Let's split it.
What you
Let's
say,
split
Red?
it.
What you gonna say, Red?
So that plays a part too. Come from a culture that's used to doing that, and we're not. We're looking for that ride. We're showing up to the barbecue. I did barbecues with Aya when I was married to Aya, my rooftop, and I would bring like crazy foods, seafood, meat, chicken, whatever, all the food and meat. I just tell the guests, bring what you drink. That's all. Bring what you drink. So what do? They bring Budweiser. They bring fucking Schweppes. I don't know, whatever bullshit beer. Then they grabbing the Sapporo. They grabbing the. I said, come on, man. Then I had to make a flyer. I don't know if you remember this. I made the flyer that said, bring your own drink. No girls juice. No cold water. Bring what you got to drink. I put that on the flyer when I lived on Fulton Street. So it's that mentality. We just don't, I show up, I'm going to drink this beer. I'm going to bring 2 6-packs because I know I'm going to drink at least one. So at least nobody's going to stop me from drinking, and then some people can drink too. That's how you got to do it. It's not going to hurt you. But we have this, I guess you can't have it all. We can't have the talent and the manners. I don't know, or the know-how.
Yeah.
We can't have it all, man.
Listen.
We got the talent, but we can't.
Sword.
Have it all. So the people that don't got talent, they got the know-how.
For us, we were there. People like us, all of us right here, we were there when this happened. We were there literally from the beginning when this happened. So we were a part of it happening in front of our eyes. We didn't realize what was happening. We didn't know it was going to turn into. So when other people come here and they look at it,
right,
we're already in it. We're in the mix. We're in the whatever. We're part of the coming up. This DJ wasn't a DJ last week. We watched him go buy records and say, hey, I want to become a DJ. We watched all of this happen. We're a part of it. So that whole thing of, that's where some of that mentality of you got to look out for me, because I came up with you. I didn't show up at your door. I created this with you. I was part of this.
Yeah.
People come.
Yeah, but at some point you got to realize that.
Listen, let me finish. People coming from other places come in. They see us. They see business. We didn't see any business. They see the business and they take it back and present it like business to their people. And therefore, their people are like, oh, wow, so-and-so came back and now he's a DJ and now we have to pay to support him or whatever. They weren't part of something that they didn't build it together. This person, their friend was like, hey, I'm going to open a club. And they're like, we're going to go down to that club. So yeah, we have to pay. Us, we're like, no, we built this club. We're part of this whole everything. So that's where some of that mentality comes. I know it from both sides. And so you got to think of that part as well.
No, I agree with you. I mean, I know it's a tough call because there are those who support, and there's like, I don't know, I can speak for myself. I usually expect to be on the list, but if I'm not, it's okay. But I'm definitely drinking. I'm definitely bringing people with me that's drinking. I'm something to support. I'm not trying to totally wear the party out or like it's my house. You know what I mean? So we got, at some point, I mean, in the 90s when it started out, before the internet, late 80s, I could understand that because we don't have internet. We're not knowing what's going to be. And we're just doing what we're doing. We're not doing this for fame, fortune, show and tell. We're just doing what we like to do. And it became something that the world put their eyes on and liked it and it's something totally different nowadays. It's totally different. So, but at some point, after the internet came out, after we saw our homies, friends, brothers, sisters, colleagues getting paid to go places, do things with it, at that point, we have to realize, there's a moment when we get in free. Okay, so blah, blah, blah is performing at Madison Square Garden. Okay, we probably could be on the guest list because there's a million motherfuckers is going to pay. But we got a little party over here at, I don't know, some small little club we together amongst our friends. You gotta support. You gotta use your head sometimes. You gotta bring something to the table. I'm gonna bring 10 people. I used to make this deal with Voodoo Ray, our brother, God Ray, rest in peace. When he was doing Joe's Pub, I would always bring a lot of people so I could get in free. So I would bring 10, so he'd give me 2 accounts. You know what I mean? Like that's helping each other out. Okay, Khahim, yeah, I can get you in, no problem. See if you can bring some people, no problem. I bring 10 people here. All right, can they get the roots, do something? All right, good, I'm in. So something, something to adjust the situation. I don't know, but we gotta, at this point, we're gonna realize it or we don't. It's either too late or I don't know what to say about now. I don't know how New York is right now with this whole situation, and I don't know when we're gonna be able to dance again publicly. So that's all looking really scary. But I don't know,
But I will say this, based on what you're saying, Khahim, and actually what everybody has said. For me, from the outside, before I was promoting, I was one of those people, and I'm like, okay, I would always pay, mostly pay at the door, whatever. But I used to get mad at John sometimes. I used to get upset with John because John was really hard at the door. And once I started learning on my own of what's going on and actually working with John, I understood much more why he was like that. And so I could say I've learned a lot from him in that part. I love working at the door because I say it again, and I'm going to keep saying it until I'll probably do it, to make a booklet, not a book.
John had his routine, his rules. He had to because he always stretching it.
Let me explain. Since we're talking about creating and being part of all of this and everything else, there are 2 people that were out in the street when there were probably a few more, but the people who I've known Timmy since 1975, and I've known Freddie since 1974. And the thing about me working at a club at the door is when you're in that position, you have to know where your loyalty lies. Mm-hmm. And everybody who comes to the door at Shelter does not have a longer relationship than Timmy and I. Right. Because I grew up with Timmy, I know what Timmy has put into the club. Right. How many times have I said to Timmy, you are out of your goddamn mind putting up this money for this, for these people who don't appreciate. And so his idea, without getting any further deep into him, the idea and my position was, we have bills to pay. Right. And so my loyalty has to lie with the person who I'm connected with. Mm-hmm. So inevitably, whether I wanted to be this way or not, I can't preach about a system if I keep bucking the system. Right. So a lot of times when I had differences of opinion or people wanted to get in, what have you, at the door, they took it personal.
Which is never that.
And it's not personal.
It's never
Never.
that.
Because at the
I
end of
learned quickly to be there at 5 or earlier, or he was not coming to the.
right,
I learned that quickly, and it's John's my friend. I had to leave a girl in the car one time. I had to be there. She got mad at me. I was like, "Look, we can stop this. We can do this another time. I got to get in. To 5 o'clock, it's a wrap. We're not getting in."
and I just to give you an idea, I've been working at
Tight.
I was at shelter. I would say I was at shelter from I started taking the management and after Kevin left in 2000, end of 2002 until now. And in that time, I had a family to take care of. And in all those years that I worked for him, because of the situation at the door, I would say if I had to put together how much I didn't get paid, I would say about 5 years of all those years, I made not a dime. I had to come home with no money, sitting at the door for 12, 13, 14 hours. And everyone who came to the door thought that we were making millions of dollars.
Yeah, because the parties is cracked. The parties is booming.
12 hours trying
They
to
didn't
get
get
$20.
Party was great.
Right, yeah, huh?
Right.
You know, I would sit at the door for 12 hours, 14 hours when we were on 39th Street, knowing that I got to go home afterwards.
Yeah, the price, if you think about it, was never expensive either.
Right, to tell my family that I didn't get paid this week.
Mm-hmm.
And all they want, you know, all people would say, "Oh, I hate this guy at the door. He does this." No, my loyalty is with Timmy. And if you're not,
So the new one is dancers. That you got to get a special price for dancers.
Dances. I dance.
That was always a funny one
That's
to
what
me.
I always said when I started doing my parties. I was like, everybody's a dancer. What are you gonna say? Everybody came to dance. We're all dancers. So
If you ain't dancing, why you coming here?
Right, exactly. But that was my position at the door. My loyalty had to be with Timmy because we had to face everybody after it was over.
Right.
right.
And I'm not even complaining about the fact that I didn't get, so many times I've walked out and said, okay, we don't have this hammer on our head anymore. We'll deal with the rest of it.
Mhm.
It is what it is.
Uh-huh.
You know, but people, they cursed me. I don't care. Because like I said before, this is where my loyalty. I don't have an agenda at shelter. I don't pick people. I don't say, I don't like you. Because if I don't like you, I ain't gonna say nothing to you anyway. So we probably won't have anything, we won't have any confrontations.
Right.
So it's never been a thing where I pick this one, or I like this girl, or I like that, because I didn't fool around at shelter for that very reason.
That's a great thing.
So there was no agenda except we needed to make money. And, you know, Timmy's the only person that takes his money for whatever God reason. I mean, I know why, because we're friends, but he takes his money, the money, he goes around the world and takes his money and puts it on 21st Street.
Yep.
Barrack Street.
Yep.
You know, and so the least that I can do is make sure that he can come back next week.
A slow clap for that. I will give you that. That's, yeah.
And that's all it ever was with me. It was never anything about anybody else. And if people want to take it personal, I'm not going to lose any sleep. But
I'm going to interrupt you both, you fellas, you passionate fellas, for 1 minute, because we literally jumped right into this and just kept going. But normally we ask, and I think it's still worth asking, because there's still some people who are probably watching this whole thing who don't really know why. Right. So the question to you both, and you can give me the short answer, is, I'll start with you, Khahim. The short answer is, why do you think that we asked you to be here with us this evening?
I Why did you ask me to be here?
Why did we?
Why do you think?
Why do you think we?
'Cause I'm
Why do you
handsome.
think you were on our master list? Why do you think
That's
we
it.
asked you to be
That's what I
here?
got.
He said because he's handsome. That's all.
I think you asked me because I guess I was some kind of character in the scene at some point. From the beginning until whatever, that's a sticking. I had some presence, whether I was doing parts or dancing or acting as an agent in some aspect. And I never really took it on. I never was. I think working with Funkbox made me the most that I ever was. I always was kind of in my own corner, doing my own thing. Even in my younger years, I heard from Peter, Paul, who ended up being my brother, or Khahim, or whoever, that I was a shady dude. Because if you didn't dance house, then I didn't want to know you. And someone came from hip hop in the house. That was a history of New York, hip hop clubs being closed down or whatever. So I don't know. I think you guys asked me because of that, because I've played a couple of roles in different ways, and those who know. And those who don't know maybe need to know something or might have a question or something.
Maybe
the other day I saw
tonight
that Stretch threw my name as a credit to a particular dance. I don't even know the name of the dance.
It was the one where you hold the Heineken
because they
bottle?
made all these names up now. Dancing, we weren't making no names for them, at least that I remember.
It's the
We were
one
just
where
doing
you
what we do.
Huh?
So things kind of moved on and got names, and then they gave me credit. I was like, oh, me? Okay, great, thank you.
Who's shuffling cards?
It's the one.
Yeah, you always dancing with a drink in your hand. You never spilled a drink. And I said, oh yeah, well, the dance with the drink is not just about a drink. One, I didn't want to put my drink down. Two, it's also about balance and control and how to move around and not just going buck or doing a routine I saw on YouTube. Excuse me for anybody.
Who's shuffling cards?
Right, who's shuffling
That's
cards?
it. That's my short answer.
Who is shuffling cards?
Not me.
So Khahim, whatever you're doing with your hands, it sounds like you're shuffling cards.
Shuffling fucking cards, dude.
Now, moving right along,
I'm trying to say,
I
the dance has to be the one with you holding the Heineken bottle in one hand and down and up.
that was Khahim.
It stuck on my finger.
Right.
Right.
Khahim with his finger out.
Right.
Now, right. Now, John, the same question.
Same question for you.
Okay, so I think that Red was trying to humanize me, and I think it's not going well.
No, I really wasn't. I've gotten to know you. I have gotten to know you.
No. Why is it not going well? No, they need to hear everything you said, man.
And so, no, I'm not afraid of you no more.
Well, what happens is, and I guess I'll have to explain here today. I am not affected or impressed by the scene. I've been to, the first club I went to was the Electric Circus on St. Mark's.
Wow.
I used to hang out there.
Wow.
Yeah, man. I used to go to the Electric Circus, and then downstairs was called the Dome, and that's where all the pimps used to hang out. So if you wanted to hear Jimi Hendrix and Buddy Miles, you go upstairs. If you wanted to hear Curtis Mayfield, you went downstairs. I used to get my butt whipped on a regular for getting home late. And the only thing that saved me is that I wasn't into drugs or anything like that. So my mother just thought I was just crazy. So when it comes to going out and going to clubs, I've been doing this since 68, 69.
And do you think that's why we asked you here tonight?
No, I said that the reason why you asked me is to humanize me.
Oh, that's the reason. Oh.
You're quite.
You missed it. Well, you gotta tell us why.
The reason.
Why did you invite us?
I wanted to get John's potato salad.
And why did you bring your teddy bear with you?
I want John's potato salad recipe because John's potato salad.
Why is the teddy bear looking like he's humping you? He's not on the side of you. He's like behind you. Why is that?
Cynthia, huh?
And he's switching positions if you pay attention.
Yeah, because he's going from one side to the other.
Yeah, he has a
Seen
good
him.
But I do want John's potato salad recipe. I'm not lying.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll get that.
I like it.
I'll get that to you. But no, why did you ask us?
There's no, honestly, for me, some other people have asked this and I feel comfortable answering for both me and Cynthia. You guys are just part of this whole scene. You're part of the scenario. You're somebody that can't be overlooked. And we also can imagine that you guys would have a good story to tell. And that's pretty much all we can ask for in this right here. Is just a good bedtime story. Like, I could just curl up and be like, so John, tell me about just one of those nights. And you'd be like, oh, let me tell you. So, and also because you guys like I said, John, you other people may not know. I know that you're a fun guy. You're fun. You got a lot of things to say. And Khahim, those who know you, they know you're fun. So it works out really well.
Yeah. So what kind of story are you looking for? Stateside story? Or
Well, what I want to know, because this is one thing that I like to ask everyone that joins us. I want to know, what was it that turned you out? What was it that's made you say, yo, I need to have this music. I need to have this scene.
This is for me.
This is a part of who I am.
Okay, that brings up two stories.
Okay.
All right. The first story was the first time I went to a club. I mean, I'm not a disco, but I guess not. It wasn't house because back then it wasn't house, but a dance club.
Yeah.
I used to play basketball, and I went to school in North Carolina, and when I came back from prep school, I was hanging out in Brownsville. And I was playing ball in the Howard Projects, and I became friends with this one guy who had a twin brother. His twin brother was gay. And, we'd hang out at the apartment after the game, because the basketball court was right in front of his house. So we'd go hang out, and we'd go in the house. And whenever we went in the house, there'd be a bunch of his brother's friends in the house. And they were listening to music. And I went in and I was like, what is this? And one of the guys was playing, he said to me, this is Donna Summer. Okay. And it was Carlos Sanchez. So Carlos, I showed interest in this music because I'd never heard some of this music. Carlos turned me on to Prince. He turned me on to Donna, different people. And so he was showing me his music. Probably part of it was he was trying to tap my ass, but on top of that, on top of all that, he was a great guy. And he started telling me about this club. And the first club he started talking to me about was Reed Street. And he talked with this guy named Larry Levan at Reed Street. And he said the club wasn't open now, but there's another club called the Gallery. And so he said to me, but it's a gay club. So, that's hard to swallow from a kid that's playing basketball out in Brownsville. So, it took me a while. It's like, and then finally I said, you know what? Take me. So we went, me, him, and another guy he took us to the Gallery. I walked in the Gallery and I just couldn't believe what I saw. Everyone was just dancing freely. It's kind of crazy. And then I made the mistake of going off by myself and going into the lounge and figuring, oh, okay, let me drink some of this punch.
No punch back in the day was okay. No punch. I don't care what you at.
No punch. The sweeter, the worse.
Right.
The more good it was tasting, the worse.
5 cups later, because Carlos was in the middle of the floor with his friends. 5 cups later, I I was, you know, I was a believer. I was like, oh, this.
You were like,
So I started going to the gallery, and then one day I ran into one of the guys I knew from the after work discos, and then he told me I saw him like 3 o'clock in the morning. He says, "Where you going?" I said, "I'm going to the gallery." I said, "Where are you going?" He says, "I'm going to this club, the Loft." So I said, "What's that?" And he says, it's like there, but it's probably not as gay or different. He says, "You should come check it out." So a couple of months later, I went to and I was intended to go to the gallery, but I said, let me go check out the Loft and see what's happening at the front. When I get to the front door, the doorman, Ernesto, was at the front door. Ernesto and I went to high school together. We played on the basketball team together.
nice.
So I was like, oh, okay. I got this. And so I started going to the Loft, and I used to go to the Loft. I used to go to the gallery back and forth. And that was the first time it kind of got me. The second time that really got me was the guy who invited me to the Loft got a job in Paradise Garage. And he gave me an invite for the first night.
Oh.
So I had an invite to go, and I was living with my girlfriend at the time. But being 20, I think I was 20. I was turning, the day of the opening was my birthday. But
like today, happy
It's an anniversary.
birthday.
It's John's birthday, people.
It's John's birthday.
Today.
So what you're saying, John, wait, let me just get this straight. So what
Right.
you're saying is that the Paradise Garage opened on 9/22, whenever it opened.
It was 9/21.
Okay, got you.
The next day was my birthday, but it was basically, that was the day I was going to celebrate my birthday.
Yep.
Wow,
And-
that's okay.
And so I was living with my girlfriend, but being a young 20-year-old, I was never coming home. I was hanging out. So the day that I was supposed to go
to the beach.
the day I was supposed the day I was supposed, her and I were supposed to go together. But the day that I came home from work, she fucked off and left the house. She abandoned ship, and I'm in the house by myself. And I'm thinking, what the hell? And there was no cell phones and nothing like that. And after a certain time, I figured, oh shit, she must be out with somebody else. So I said, oh shit, what am I going to do? So I said, wait a minute, this is my birthday weekend. So I said, oh man, I'm going to a gay club by myself. I was like, I said, oh man, I said, I'm really hooked. So I get on the train, I'm on my way. And when I get off the train downtown, who do I run into? Right on the corner, right there, Timmy Regisford. And Timmy was standing, and I said, I saw him, and I met him. I met him at a club that I didn't know he was honing his DJ skills at this time, but he was younger than us, but he was always at this club near his house. And so he said to me, where you going? I said, I'm going to this club, Paradise Garage. And he says to me, really? He says, how are you going to get in? I says, I got the invite. And he says, really? And he says, oh man, I want to go there. And I said, well, the invite's for 2. And I said, come on, let's go. And he said, you think we'll get in? And I said, we're both men. Of course we're going to get in.
I see this whole scene in the movie when it's made.
Yeah. And then me and him went to the club. We stood up against the wall, pressed up against the wall. Boy, me and him was up against that wall for like 2 hours listening to this music. And then finally, we felt comfortable enough to kind of walk away, but we were going to come back to this spot. So we kind of walked away a couple of times and came back. And then Timmy came back to me. One of the trips he came back to me and his eyes were about this big. He said to me, yo, man, guess what? I said, what? He said, I just ran into my math teacher here. I was like, really? He said, yeah, man, I just went, my teacher's here. And I said, oh shit, I guess that's what they're gonna say about you now, huh, buddy? And but at that point, you know, those were.
Look, John, I thought you were gonna say his eyes were this big, and he was like, they got punched.
No, Timmy. No. Timmy.
I know.
Timmy will have a couple of glasses of plum wine, and he'll be complete. He's never gotten drunk, but that's something Timmy didn't do. So that was, you know, it was Carlos Sanchez was the person who took me out. And then eventually I wound up, you know, and then I started going out again. And then I took Timmy, me and Timmy went to the garage together. I won't say I took Timmy. I'll just say me and him went together. And so those were two of those stories. I have one other story, but Khahim, you need to interject now because I need the drinks.
What did it for me was I used to go to this place called Door, and it was on 6th Avenue and 17th. It became Bed Bath Beyond after that. Then I think it became Old Navy. I don't know what it is today, but 17th and 6th. And the Door was like, and I don't know if y'all know about that, it was like a after school program. And Big Guy Rob was the counselor. He worked there. And Rob tapped me one day, said, you want to go to this company? He brought me to the garage. And when I got there, when I looked at it, it's huge. You know, when I got in, it seemed like, first thing I saw was two men, Timberlands, no shirts, dancing together. And I was like, right. So I'm not really sure what's going on at this point, why he brought me here, but okay. But then it was different. He said to me back then, it was like all R&B. You were either listening to a did, I don't know, you were listening to, but there was nothing, this music, nothing. There was not even on the radio, nothing. And I was like, okay. Then I danced with Chick up close, lining on. I was all right, it's my kind of party. Because you only danced her on the slow song back then, kind of the skate or whatever. So she, after dance, was like, you can walk away. I was stuck on that. I was like, okay, so wait a minute. This is strange. So we left. And next week, a week later, I asked, you know that changed party with me too? Are you going there? I want to go again. And I just couldn't stop after that. The music did it for me. I didn't even have to drink punch and nothing. I just was liking the vibe. I was liking it. I think it was personal for me because it seemed like everyone was just nobody was bothering. Chicks with shirt on, titties swinging, men, celebrities do drugs, whatever, whatever it was, they was on their own. There was no TMs, there was nothing. So it kind of felt good to be there. And being underage at the time, not really being out. So, and that, I think, and not so long ago, then I worked at Love Life with Leroy. Then, just things kept going. There was 21 Hudson, there 21 Hudson, there was tracks, and always it was predominantly gay, for sure, predominantly gay. But in the gay environment, there were plenty of heterosexual women laying in the, and if you are a man, can hang in amongst the gay dudes and not take offense or not be insecure, you win. So that was the first move. I was like, I'm gonna meet a nice girl. I'm gonna learn how to dance. This dance they doing, I'm gonna put my own curve on, and that's much what did it for music was phenomenal. Today I can't stop. I'm in Brazil. The parties are very, now this is nothing, but even been here 6 years, and the parties are very small here and there, not like home. Luck has got a whole nother, even with all the stuff we were talking about earlier, it always is a constant. I mean, it has a scene that is matchable. I haven't seen anywhere else like it. And that has been a part of my, I have to work every now. I put on France, newer blood. but with old heart, old soul. I hear Mark Friends, or I hear some of the other Timmy's mix, or Louis May, whoever, and listening to that every day to this day. So I don't even know. 52 next month. So I have no idea if I ever get to this music. But
So I
over
want
the
to
top,
take this
I love it.
opportunity right now to say this.
Mm-hmm.
Both of you told origin stories, basically. And I see some things going on right now with people that are part of the scene, and not to be all preachy, but sometimes I see things that are a little homophobic or a little off or a little this, or some of the things that people may share, whatever, but they're part of this whole scenario. And it's really important for people to realize that this whole scenario started off with gay men.
Oh
It
yeah.
started off with the gay crowd.
Yeah, or gay, whatever.
When people
want
do
extra
that, though,
extracurricular stuff outside the
let me
box.
finish.
Not
Let me
the
finish.
I would say
People-
not the normal.
Hold on, Kyle. Let me
It's all
finish.
normal preference, but I mean,
Khahim.
yeah, it was not.
Wait,
You had to that thinking curve had to be outside the norm. I mean, the typical, because
Khahim, can I finish my thought?
Wait.
no, you can't.
I'm going
couldn't
to.
hear
I'm
you.
going to.
I couldn't hear because I cut off. Okay, but go ahead.
When people do and say these things, it's important for them to realize where it came from. And if they're not comfortable in their own skin being a part of that, or if they have something to say that's derogatory, or they're just simply not comfortable, we'll just leave it at that, then they're in the wrong scene, because this is where it came from. And those people and those men and those whatever, those outcasts, they welcomed us into what they had.
That's right.
And that's really, really important to take note of and not forget.
That's
Because
you know what?
it really pisses me off when I hear people say and do things like that.
Yeah, no. If it wasn't
No,
for
it's real.
back
It's
in
true,
the
though.
day, you had to walk across the floor to ask a girl to dance in a straight club. Do you know what it is to walk into a club and just start dancing and don't have to worry about anything? And my experience in hanging out in places like the
Preconception.
garage and the gallery, straight girls know a guy when they see one. Well, if they see you and they get that feeling, I could be dancing and all of a sudden there'd be one girl, two girls standing in front of me dancing, and I didn't have to ask them to dance, and I might even get something after it's all over. All praise is due to the gay men.
Hello.
That was definitely. Well, you know what else too? There's no violence.
Right.
There's violence in the environment, and back then too, you couldn't. If you wanted to a good party without a shot, without some bullshit, you had to go to a gay party.
Right.
You had to. It could be a real
Khahim,
rink, it could be
whatever,
regular, always
Khahim,
a brawler.
Khahim,
Khahim, you're cutting off.
we can't hear you. So whatever you were doing before with your device, we could hear you clearly.
Yeah.
And I don't know if
You're
you
cutting
moved
off.
it or shifted or something, but you keep breaking up and we can't hear all the great things you're saying.
Yeah, it's something that's chopping you up.
I think the internet is getting shit. I don't. You hear me now?
We can hear you now, we think.
Just maybe talk slower.
Everybody
I
calm
think
down.
the internet is shitty. But can you hear me now?
We hear you now. We can hear you now.
That's better.
Yes, we can hear you.
What I said was to make sure is that there was no club to go to if you go to a gay club without violence or a shootout or some craziness. And then these gay parties, it was peaceful, it was free. You could be who you could dress how you want, do what you want. There was no judgment, no preconception, and that helped a lot because that helped me personally a lot because I come from biracial, and that I went through a lot of shit because my mother was white, my dad was black. I went through a lot of shit, high school, junior high. I look Spanish, but don't know the language. I wasn't black, I was white. So, but in this environment, I could be whatever fuck. And when I learned how to dance and my step on, I was killing, getting girl left to right. So I was happy as fuck going to these parties. Yeah. And the good part, seeing gay people, after a while, I started realizing they're no different. They have no, there's no judge of them. They're good people. And even, you know, the insecurity that you might as a man when they approach you, if you say, oh, that's not my style, that's not me, they respect and go on their way. There was a couple of people like Earl that were more aggressive, but I mean, but for the most part, it people. So you get used to it. To this day. I remember my oldest child, God bless her too, for she died, but when she was about 8, 9, you know, Prince, everybody knows Prince, everybody knows Prince Bernard. Well, his real name Bernard, I think his name Bernard.
Stop being
Princess,
fancy.
right?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
You know what?
Sorry. I ain't that, but yeah. Anyway, friend, good dude, good guy. My daughter was like, Dad, is that your friend? I think we were in Central Park at the summer stage or something. And it's like, yeah, why? Well, he's gay. I said, oh, yeah? What's wrong with that? It's okay. So she was shocked, but she got used to that. After later, it was okay. So my point is that at first, coming into that environment, like John said, it was a little bit like standoffish, like a little bit like, oh, okay. But it was a more comfortable place to be. I've never felt safer in any after that. I've never wanted to go to a hip hop club. The hip hop clubs back then it was like hip hop clubs. Hip clubs are intense. There's a lot of tension in the room. You can't even look at the girl. You might have a man, then there's a beat, and you got a fight going on, and somebody's waiting for you after the club. You know, there's always some nonsense. But in these environments, it was a lot more peaceful, more about dance, a lot more about social activity, not about aggression. So
Yeah. And you know, a lot of people,
I love it to this day about those situations. You know? So I mean, those parties and those places. So
I've taken.
If I'm to think gay, lesbian community, that I think for sure they raised me.
Yeah.
That's how I see it.
But I've taken people to clubs, and especially the garage back in the day. I would take guys to the garage, and you know, after a couple of hours, you know, especially since I was going there from the beginning, I'd find my friends, or I'd find some place or my spot to dance, or I'd find I'm somewhere doing something, smoking and doing something, and then I'd come back and turn around, and the guy who I brought was in the mix.
Kissing somebody.
And you know, I look up and I see him in the mix, and I'm like,
You're like, oh, I wonder, does he know he's in the mix?
In the mix.
you know, it's Cynthia. It's funny because some of them didn't realize they were in the mix,
Right,
and some of them knew they were in the mix.
right. Some of them didn't know, and then some of them will be in the mix and be like, I'm in the mix.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I took my friend's brother there one night, and actually he was my ex. He was a roommate of mine, but he still lived in the neighborhood, so he used to hang out at the apartment. And I took his brother to the garage one night, and my roommate at the time, there was the three of us. We went there, so we get there, and there were a couple of. I guess they can say they were. Yeah, I can say they were transvestites. I guess you can say, because they, you know, back in the garage, back then, even the trannies kind of dressed. They didn't really dress up like that. Everyone had like a casual air about themselves.
Yeah.
So these guys, you know, I guess you can say they were trannies because they had the makeup on and everything. I look up probably an hour later, and my boy is doing he's hustling with one of them. So I said to my roommate, I said, uh-oh. I said, uh-oh. I said, I forgot the guy's name. I said, we brought his little brother out and we fucked him up, you know? So he hung out that night.
Down.
He left with us. We left in the morning. He left and everything. The very next weekend, he came to my apartment, and I kid you not, this was a Saturday afternoon, and this fucking guy came to my house. He's probably, I think he had to be about 18, 19, and he came in with a black leather vest on, blue jeans, and chaps.
Yes.
He came into the
He
apartment.
got a winner.
Right. It's like he came into the apartment and I was stunned, not in disgust or
Right.
indifference, just
like,
and he came in and we said, hey, what's up? So he sat down and we were talking and I'm walking through the apartment and he's talking. And then he said to me, I said, what are you up to dress? And I had to say something. I said, what are you up to dress? What are you up to dressed like that? Right? And he said to me, he said, yeah, man, I'm on my way out. I'm going out to the Pines. I said, the what?
Wow, he met some people.
He said, I'm going out to the Pines.
Wow.
And I said to myself, I didn't want to show any emotion because that's, whatever you do is your business.
To support him, and you were still his
Right, but it was just a shock. Like, it was like, and I said, the Pines, what are you going there for? And he said, yeah, man, I'm going to be a stud.
Okay.
And the conversation ended because I didn't know what to say from that point. I was like, and finally, it got so quiet.
Story has made me so happy.
It got so quiet in the apartment. I'm gonna make it out. I say, all right, have fun. And he left out, But that's what happened. A lot of people I took, not a lot, but a few people I took to the club, they got in the mix willingly, or they didn't know they were in the mix, and they were in the mix.
But see, you also know
Yeah,
who
don't-
you're taking. You may
Don't
not
get
know
it
this, but
twisted.
we
Young
know.
new boy coming into the gay club scene.
Right. And all of us know who
If you
we take to
if
the
you
club
wasn't
and not to
secure
take
about
to the club.
who you
say,
were,
Red?
what you wanted, you would
I
fall
said,
into
well, I'm gonna wait for
into
Khahim.
the web for sure.
Right.
What I said was all of us, all four of us, and probably most of the people that are listening to us right now, we know once you go, you know who you should take to the club and who you should not take to the
That's
club.
right.
That doesn't mean you know what they'll do when they get there, but you know who's going to be like, yeah, I get it.
But that was the first couple of years that the garage opened. I learned quickly after that. After those first 2 years of the garage of taking that chance, then I shut it all down, And yeah, that was but I'm going to tell you the best club I went with, the garage, Catacombs. I'd say Catacombs was really good in Philly. Of course, the Loft and the Gallery, but the best party scene, and people they'd come up with other things. The best party scene I ever been to was in Goa, India. Nothing. Absolutely, there is the only thing that was bad about Goa, India, because I went there in '85. The worst thing about the scene was the music, because it was just really just techie, kind of spacey stuff. But there is no scene that I've ever seen that was like that. It was absolutely mind-blowing to go to a beach almost every night and there'd be 4,000 and 5,000 Europeans partying half naked, on acid, on everything until the afternoon, every single day. That was definitely the best scene I'd ever seen. And at that time, Larry was sort of in the throes of his addiction. So I would say when I went to the garage, every single Saturday every single Friday. Sorry, in the beginning was Friday before Saturday, because I was a core member. I went to every single party from 1976 to 1984. I didn't miss not one weekend.
Wow. 76 to 84. Wow.
Yeah. Every single week. I didn't go on a trip. Finally, I went to Europe, and then I stayed away for a year. So that was the first time I can get away from the garage. I
I
couldn't.
can't get away.
Huh?
Yeah.
And then at that time, and then around that time is when he started to, when Larry, I remember the first time Larry came late to the club because I saw Larry buying heroin on the street
Wow.
before he went to the club.
Wow.
And that's how Joey and him started playing, him and David DePino. And yeah, but Goa was absolutely unbelievable. It was unbelievable that the party that they had in Goa. I'd say that was the best scene I've ever been in.
Nice.
Well, I'm going to completely go left here
Go ahead.
and just quickly tell you that some people, John, this
Yes.
is for you. Somebody named Nash BW, who maybe we know him. Mark Francis, Little Ray, Grandma Secrets, aka Regina, Rashid, and Kim Lightfoot all said, "Happy birthday, John."
Well,
Yeah,
thank
I
you.
have a bunch of birthdays for you also.
Thank you.
So everybody that heard it's your birthday is wishing you a happy birthday, and
And happy birthday,
know
John.
that as much as you
Happy
feel like
birthday,
you're inhuman, you're been humanized today.
Today. You're gonna learn tonight.
Well, thank you to everybody. Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that.
That's awesome.
So, were there any questions for us, or we just let that all
You
go?
know, you guys came in with just boom, you were in it. Boom. You came in like I got something to say. We didn't even I was just like, go on.
Me too. And actually, the questions that I had seemed to get answered naturally in our conversations. So,
Yes.
Cool.
Yes. No, what I had was a lot of comments. People were agreeing with what you were saying, and they were saying preach. There were words like fact, preach, while you were talking about the club scene and what was going on and things like that. So there was really nothing to ask because you were giving it all. And yeah, there were a lot of
Okay,
comments,
amazing.
which you'll get to see later.
Right. Okay.
But yeah.
Dog.
hi.
Oh, and John and Tweed says happy birthday.
Oh,
And
okay.
and Nash says, how can I question anything you say? I'm on the floor. Or was it sarcastic one?
Yeah. I don't know where to go with that, but okay.
No, don't. You know he's looking for trouble.
Yeah, I know. That's
But,
right. I'll leave that alone.
You
I
know
have
he's
a
looking for
question.
trouble.
My question, this is another one that I like to know. If there was a dream person that you could work with or, do some kind of production within nightlife with, of some sort, either dead or alive, who would that be for both of you?
Wow.
I don't know if it's a dream, but I got something that I would like to do right now currently. I would like to bring Mark Francis here. I love this guy, man. His music.
That's funny. Mark Francis is listening to you right now.
Francis, you better get in touch with Khahim
Mark
because
Francis is listening right now.
We talked about this when I first got here. But Brazil's a different ball game. It's hard. Brazil's hard to bring people out. It's not a win-win.
Mark Francis. Yeah, Mark Francis.
I've seen him
I'm gonna
go.
have to stop you right here, John.
But I know John has seen it. I've seen it too. I've seen Mark develop his whole.
Oh, we all have. We all have.
Mark.
We love you, Mark.
There's probably going to get around. There's going to be people slighted and probably DJs, but I'm going to say this. Growing up with and being around Timmy all these years, Timmy was taught a formula, whether it's the formula, whether it's the best formula. I'm not judging any of that, because you like who you like or you dislike who you dislike, but his formula worked for him. And the one thing I know about Timmy is that in all of the things that people could say about Timmy as a criticism, and most people criticize him that don't know him, So most of that would be coming from people who don't. I don't want to get into any of that either. What I'm trying to say is that I've been around him and I've had him tell me, like for a lot of years when I was in Europe, when I was in Japan, Timmy and I still talked on the telephone. He would call me when I was in Japan. He called me when I was in Europe. We still occasionally spoke to one another, and we would talk about things. We didn't have long, drawn out conversations, but we did have conversations, and we talk about some of the DJs and the people that were under him, whether they were proteges or what have you. And he always preached that formula to people who he trusted. And I've listened to some of them, I've been around some of them, and I would listen. I would say, they're not listening to what he's saying.
I know what you're gonna
They're
say.
not listening
John.
to what he's
I know
saying.
what you're gonna say.
And so what happens is, at some point, these people would try to step out on their own.
Right.
And they'd fall flat on their face because they weren't listening to the formula.
Or they couldn't wait.
And they couldn't wait.
Or they couldn't wait until the formula was mixed.
Right. And so you can't do something, you know, if somebody jumps out in front of in the middle of the street,
Done.
you can't run up and knock them out of the way of the car, because by the time you get there, they've already gotten hit. And that's what happened. I've seen it happen with a few people, because they didn't listen to what Timmy was saying about the formula. And I remember when we were doing an event I was around Mark for a while, but I didn't know what Mark was doing. I don't ask, when people are around Timmy, I don't ask them, who's this guy, what he does, that ain't my business. So I always stayed in my lane, but I used to see Mark around. I didn't know why Mark was around. And probably after about almost a year, I saw him give Timmy music. And that was the first time I realized that there was a function or purpose for Mark being around. You know, I just didn't know, because he used to be with Adam. He was Adam's friend.
I remember.
And then out of the clear blue one day, Tim, we were getting ready to do an event we were going to go to the music conference. And Timmy said, yo, man, I think I'm going to give this kid a shot. And I said, who? He said, Mark. I was like, Mark's a DJ? And I was like, yeah. Yeah. I said, oh, okay. And I said, he said, no, I've been talking to him. He said, I think this kid, he's listening. And I said, okay.
For sure.
And I said, but the only way you're going to find out if he's listening is when he plays. He said, yeah, I know. That's why I'm letting him play. I'm going to give him a shot and see what he does. And he gave him that shot at the music. I remember the event outside. We were doing, I forget where it was. Where was it? Miami Suites or something?
It was that weird location.
Yeah, yeah.
I think we had to move from one location A to B or something.
Yeah, something like that. Something went, but he played. And of course, you know, Mark was
Mark, where were we? Go on.
Miami Suites or something. It was right on Collins.
Yeah. It was like moving from location A to B because something happened and whatever. But anyway.
Yeah. And I listened to him. And even in the rawness of the mix.
We were at the garden party, Mark said, yes.
Right.
And I think it was with Sleepy and Boo, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right, it was with Sleepy and Boo. That's right. Mm-hmm. And even in the rawness of that, listening to him play, it was the first time I heard someone attempting the formula. And the one thing about Mark, he does his homework. He does his homework. He keeps on top of his shit. And he's the type of person that will ask you, what is he doing wrong?
Yeah.
That's automatically sets him
breaking
apart.
music. What I like about him, he's breaking music. He's putting his twist on it. Yeah. He definitely got the formula and he's putting his curve on it.
Yeah, yeah.
That part, I'm looking. I haven't sat there and watched all the DJs pass him like you, John, all his proteges or people
Right.
trying to. But I've seen a few people I've seen trying to dodge around him and do things.
Right.
I saw that, like you said, Mark was focused. He's humble to this day, I believe, and
He's still humble. He's
Yeah,
still
he's humble.
he's still
and
humble.
for I think it's a big thing for Timmy to put him to DJ with him in the same space. More than, that's or bring him somewhere abroad with him to play with him, or something like that. So that shows that he was listening and he's earned his place, And then when you listen to his mixes, I'm not tired of listening to his mixes. I
No.
listen to him all the time. I need him to send me some new ones if he's listening.
When
He's
we
listening, and John, he's just posted a gentle reminder of, John says, I am not an opener.
yeah. Oh, that's right. Because
He's
he
definitely
asked
not an
me,
opener.
No, he's not.
he asked me afterwards. He said he asked me, he called me, he said to me, so what do you think? And I was surprised that he asked me, because I've not had DJs come and ask me anything. They're on their own tangent. And I said, yeah, I said, you in time you're going to be really good, but I will tell you one thing: you are not an opening because you can tell sometimes. I've worked as an opening DJ, and you play a little bit different, and you do things, but I didn't think that he was. He's not an opening DJ, and I said to him, in time, once you get it. I don't know if I can't say that he listened to what I said, but certain things I told him to cut out of his repertoire when he was first starting out to make his set tighter. And he listened, he responded, and now he's on his own. And I said to him recently, that this is the first time, and I've listened to everybody that came across Timmy, and it's the first time that he can even confuse you at times.
Exactly.
We were in Jamaica. Coming back from this is when they had the Frenzy.
Yeah.
And I was going back to the airport. I brought my son with me, and me and my son, Ultra Nate. What's the DJ? He's down in Atlanta with the long dread.
Salah.
Right. Him. And it was a K House.
Kai Alcee.
Kai House. And we're all in this car. And Timmy's brother-in-law, Joe, was playing music. And we were all listening to this. We listened to it from the grill to Montego Bay. And we're in the car and we're talking, but this shit was rocking. I was like, we were sitting there saying, oh shit. And being that this is Timmy's brother-in-law, I didn't even think. I just knew this was Timmy. And then somewhere Mark got into something, and Ultra said, Joe, who's this? And Joe said, this is Mark. And the whole fucking car got quiet. The whole car. And the next thing I heard was Ultra say, you got to get me that. You got to give me that. You got to send that to me. Because we all were sitting there assuming that it was Timmy.
Right.
And when Joe said, this is Mark, you could hear crickets. It was like, because everyone was done. And I was thinking, Mark.
That's awesome.
Mark is the future.
That is awesome.
That is lovely.
Sure.
I love Mark. I love that, it's nice to also talk about, how we have seen people progress, right? Because we've been around for some time, doing things for some time. So seeing that progression is really nice because you see growth
Right.
in that, right?
Right.
And so I'm curious though, outside of Mark, is there anybody else who has caught you off guard with regard to like, oh shit,
In a good way,
in a
thank
good way?
I don't. I'm not going to. I wouldn't say. I'm not going to. I wouldn't get into saying who's crappy or anything like that. But
I'm
I would
pleased.
say
I get
that.
it.
I would say.
like,
I would say that the thing that saved Mark. The thing that saved Mark. I know this is going to be on the wire. I hate to say this, but the thing that saved Mark was that he didn't drink Kevin's Kool-Aid, and all the other DJs did.
Huh.
Mm.
And that's the difference. Because, I mean, you know, no disrespect, but he was serving Kool-Aid.
happy
And
birthday,
a lot of
John.
people got caught up,
16.
got caught up with the Kool-Aid, and it hurt them
Yeah.
because they weren't playing for themselves. You know, they were, you know, when you're not playing freely, you're not expressing yourself, and you're playing to fit somebody else's agenda, you're out of character.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or you are
And
not a
so-
character.
Of it.
Right.
I
And
feel like-
so there's a couple, there are a couple of DJs in Jersey that I like.
I like
But
the
that's
Japanese
now
girl.
they've changed because they've gotten out of that Kool-Aid drinking.
Right.
I forgot her name right now. I can't believe I
What?
forgot her name. The
Ooh,
There was
Japanese
a
girl.
time when everyone
Yuka?
was to follow behind Kevin, and I don't mean that. I'm not saying it as if he's a bad person or terrible person. You can come up with everything you want,
No,
but when you
because that's
are-
not even on him. That would be on the DJ.
right,
What's
but when
Yuko's
you're
last
not
name?
when you're not, well, see, the other thing is that you have to be someone who's, if you're somebody's apprentice, they have to know the truth in order to tell you the truth.
That's a T-shirt right there.
That is.
You know,
What's
and so
her
if
la-
you
what's
don't know
the-
the truth, you
Red.
can't teach the truth.
Jikido is the last name.
Yeah. The little one. Yeah, she's good too.
Yeah.
So
She's
I
good
think
too. I
that
remember her at the start.
that whole time, you know, Mark escaped. He kind of
Yeah.
he kind of came in not affected by that, and that helped him a lot.
Right.
You know? I
Yes.
tell you who I love Jihad.
Mm-hmm.
I love Jihad.
Look at you, Jersey.
Huh?
This is an ongoing
like
joke
Jihad
at the
too.
bedtime. Me cracking jokes on the Jersey.
Oh,
Look at
okay.
you,
I love Jihad.
Jersey.
Jihad
The
is-
Jersey vibe is
No, we
dope.
love
I listen to
Jersey.
the
We love the
Heads,
Jersey.
too. I listen to
but
the
but
Jersey head
Jihad
too.
got much better when he got out of that grip.
Hmm.
Because now he's so funky. I mean, I can listen to Jihad
That is great.
all
We
the time,
love Jihad.
you know, but there was a time when they were all trying to be in line, you know, and it didn't help them.
Yeah, because I think that what happens too is that, like, you know, just like dancing is art and producing music is art, like DJing is also art.
Art.
right?
Yeah,
What is
art.
the teddy bear?
Right.
What about
It-
the
it-
teddy
it-
bear?
the art requires skill.
That
Right.
it requires skill, but it also is a level of expression. Like, you know,
Right.
Absolutely.
you have to be able to connect with
It's
yourself to
storytelling.
be able to express
Storytelling.
and put that out.
Exactly, storytelling.
Right? So when you can't do
Performatory
that connection
storytelling.
with yourself, it's like you lose it. There's something lost in the translation there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like you're mimicking something.
Right. And then,
No.
exactly, that's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. Right.
Well, I don't know if any
Mimicking
of you
is
guys
always
remember
good.
a few years ago, I wrote something and I said that it was like a message to the DJs that if you're going to mimic the DJs that you like, and I was actually talking about Timmy, but I was like, we already have a Timmy. We don't need another Timmy. So if
Right.
you're going to come out and be like, I'm like Timmy, nobody's going to pay attention to you. You're going to end up being overlooked every single time because we're just going to go to the real thing.
Right.
You have to do something to make us say, wow, I heard this one and he did this all on his own and he did this and he's got his own and he's got, or she's got, and that makes a big difference. You can learn from the masters, but then you have to,
correct.
do your own thing and put in your own language and put in your own skill.
Right,
Right.
exactly.
It's the same thing as if you had an artist, a painter, keep recreating
Right.
the master.
We don't need another hero. Yeah, we already have that.
You'll never learn how great they are as an actual artist if they never produce something that is from their own inspiration.
Correct.
Yeah, those are my winners right there. Mark is definitely the one, and I like Yuko as well. I like those two.
She's I haven't heard from her for a minute, but
that started out as the question of who would you like to work with, right? And that's what Khahim's answer was. I still am interested to know
Mark, right? Yeah, right.
On who would be your dream person that you'd like to work with.
In any kind of, you know.
To be honest with you,
I want to be where the teddy bear's at right now.
After what I've been through, doing what I'm doing, it would be Kimberly.
Nice.
This Kimberly?
That means it needs to happen because y'all are both on this call, damn it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's a good look today.
Yeah, because she understands, she likes to be spanked a little bit, so it's okay. But once the spanking's over and the redness goes away.
Well, you know what's funny? We would have to tell people that are listening. For those that don't know, my name is Kimberly, and John is one of the few people that calls me Kimberly, like if my mother was calling me, and I'm like, what? What?
But no, the thing that the only way that you, and especially this is what I mean about my experiences abroad. I work with people doing events, and a lot of the things that I did in Japan wasn't sanctioned by the Japanese DJs because I could give a shit about them. Because no Japanese guy's going to tell me about my music. So when I was in Japan, I wasn't looking to attract Japanese people. I was looking for the English. I was looking for the Australians. I was looking for the French, all the foreigners. So that's where my focus went as far as playing music and doing clubs. But there were a few people I worked with in Japan that the events went seamless because we understood each other. And it's so important to be able to do that. You don't have to be somebody famous. You just have to be able to know what to do that's correct. And that's how people get famous.
Yeah.
So for me, I don't think that there's anybody who's famous that I could work with because unless they understand everything, it's too much of an uphill battle. I can do something with her and, we can have a disagreement and then eventually it wouldn't be a disagreement.
No, this is how it's going to work.
But on that, I will say, John, when I started working for Shelter, I learned, and when we became friends, even before we became friends, because I have to say, I have to put Freddie in there too. I learned a lot from you guys. And when I started doing my own party, it was nothing for me to say, there's no list here at all, ever. I don't care how you dance. I don't care where you dance. We're all dancers. And just because you can dance a little better than this one doesn't mean that you should get a discount at the door. I learned a lot from you all. And that really made a difference when I was like, oh, it's fine. And then outside of that, people then were like, hey, Red, will you work our door? And I'm like, oh, yes, here we go. Right. I love it. Some people get really annoyed. And like I said, I'll go back to my booklet. The reason I can't pay at the door tonight is I get a kick out of that. I think it's fun and funny, but also it's real. And, I learned a lot from you all. I really did. And you don't have to be a jerk about it. You can just be like, yeah, no, that's not how any of this works.
I don't even know where that came from because my growing up, and it was $20 in the 70s.
It was $20 until now.
Right.
And that was one of the things we would discuss,
If-
like, really,
if I
it's
didn't
the
have
same
money-
price for 20 years.
If I didn't have
That's
money, you stay home. Grown people are not supposed to be out in the street after a certain amount of time with no money.
Let me tell you something, John. I've said this at the door. I've said this exact thing. Like, I've been to them and said, you know, how much do you think that it used to cost to go out to a party in 1975? $15, $20? I was like, and it's, how much do you think rent for a 1-bedroom apartment was in 1975?
Right.
Right? So now you don't want to pay $20 and it's 2020. How much is your fucking rent?
Right.
I've had that conversation.
Yeah, no, it's just amazing to me because that shows a lack of respect.
Yeah.
It has, you know, everybody can get shorted and everybody can be without money
Yeah.
at some point. This is how we live. This is when we you know, we are who we are.
Yeah.
But to go around with a badge on your sleeve
Yeah.
that says, I don't want to pay to get into clubs, it's just that's a lack of respect.
Yeah.
And
I mean, but I've always had the policy also at the door that, like, if you came to me and you said to me, yo, Sen, I really don't have it tonight, but I really need this tonight.
Mm-hmm. I
And
was
I
going to say
thought-
that.
And they say that in a respectful way and not in front of nobody and know the rules of, like, don't be saying that shit when everybody's standing around getting ready to pay me, you know?
And when those same people send, because when they have it, they do give and they do whatever,
Yes.
they support in the best that they can, because everybody doesn't have it like
And
that.
so
But
those
like we
people-
said earlier, sometimes this is saving lives.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be the one to turn somebody away, because at the end of the day, this it's saving some lives.
And I've had someone.
I feel differently than y'all do. Okay, because it's like you can't, you give, if you see this, if for example you pass the same homeless person every day on the same corner, right? You keep passing him and he's always begging for money.
Mhm.
And you know he needs this money, and you know you see him, he's out there, right? And then you have a soft spot and they make an appeal and you say, okay, they really need this,
Right.
so I'm going to give it to them.
Yeah.
There is absolutely no way in the world that that person has not become a dependent.
Okay. However, I also have seen that same instance happen, and that person becomes a super advocate as well. So yes, they may become a dependent, but they become an advocate. So now they're telling everybody about the party, and all those other people are paying, and they're paying too on the next occasion, and they're, you know, supporting the party in different ways.
You'll have that. You'll have that. You'll have that.
Right.
And I'm not saying that's impossible for it to happen.
Yeah.
It hasn't happened to me yet.
Oh, look,
That's why I think.
John,
that's why the
and
door
Khahim,
is tough.
one of my sayings in this whole COVID has been, and it goes perfectly right now. You ain't shit. You ain't never been shit, and you ain't gonna be shit tonight. Like, no.
But the thing is, you feel, I don't feel bad about it anymore because, you if you know that you're walking to this club with no money, you need to go the other way and go home.
Well, yeah.
Or you have to find somebody that really knows you to give you money to get in. Because if you have to come to me, if you're popular on the scene and you have friends on the scene and everybody's calling your name when you walk into the club and you have to ask me for money, you don't have the friends that you think you have.
But you know what, John? I feel like what you just said, if you're popular on the scene and all those things.
And just like that, sometimes.
Wait, I didn't hear you. You broke up.
If you're popular on the scene, like.
Yeah, if you are, like you just said, if you're popular on the scene, then you're not the one that has the, those people most likely are not asking you directly. It's the more quiet person. It's the person that does show up by themselves, the person that you know is going through something or whatever, or that you really know doesn't have it, who's just kind of whispering to you like, hey man, you know, blah, blah, blah. The person who's popular and all of that, they'll figure it out. They'll be fine. They're going to get in.
You're right.
Even if you say, I need that $20, they're going to get it. It's the other people that I have a little softer spot for, where the people that you just like, this person showed up with a knapsack and I don't know if they came from home or from not home or whatever, that you're like, they need this. They need to see people. They need to be social. They need, it's a little different.
I got an answer for that too. Okay. I felt like I did that twice. Okay. Both of them swore up and down to God that they'd come and pay me back the next week. One person even sent me a couple of texts saying, don't worry, I got your money, I'm going to bring it. I'm still waiting for it.
See, that's different. I'm talking about the humble people.
Yeah.
These are supposed to be humble people.
The humble people who say, I know I'm not going to have it, but I need this. Can you help me? That's different.
I gotta say,
But if they do that once, if they do that,
But I have a question for you guys. I have a question for you both.
I do too.
A question. Rob Bass would like to know if you think that the scene has changed forever due to COVID. And for you, John, he said, do you think Shelter would ever be the same? But for you, Khahim, it's the overall, due to what's happened, what do you think? Like, how do you see the future?
First of all, the scene has to come back. We got to get places open before we can even judge that. But I would say,
well, no, the question is based on the idea, I guess, that it may not. What do you think will happen?
But I think to answer this, the best way would be that it's always changing. Because if I go from the time I started to today, it's always evolving and changing in some part. There's good pros and cons in it. But I don't know. I don't think. I would say, well, I don't know. I've been thinking every day, when are they going to give permission to open clubs?
You know what, Kai? They can open the clubs, at least here in New York, they could open the clubs. The question for the people would be, when do you think you want to go to the club? They could open every club that's out there right now. And I'm a promoter, and I'm not pressed at all. I'm staying right where I'm at.
Well, shelter would be, I mean, Shelter's a victim of just like everybody else. But the one thing that I would say that hurts Shelter in this regard, because when we're talking about a pandemic, we're talking about, unfortunately, we come down to people being sanitary and clean and taking care of themselves. And Shelter crowd, they don't put their stuff in the coat check. So first of all, that's a problem, especially now. If they open up the clubs, people are not going to want to deal with that.
Right.
And then they tell me, oh, I've been doing this. Listen, I've been going to these clubs longer than all of you guys that tell me that. All of these people that tell me that. And I used to come to the garage. I used to go to the loft, and I used to, carry my Capizios in my bag and all this other shit. But my shit went into the coat check room. From 1975, my shit went into the coat check room. This shit hanging out on the side there. So it's not going to work. And now when you're talking about opening up a club under these circumstances now, clubs are not going to go for that.
It's a tough call. It's not looking promising.
And I'm not trying to criticize people. It's just that there's a certain, I say that
things are what they are.
Yeah.
They are what they are.
I say to people, you got to grow up. You got to change with the situation. You can't tell me this is what I used to do in 1977 in 2020.
Right.
And especially not COVID 2020.
Right, exactly. So this is the big drag. This is going to be a big issue. This is a huge issue because people say, well, I've always done this. I've always spit on the street, but that doesn't mean I'm going to
been like this, though. Right.
I think until they get some kind of solution and they get a grip on this whole thing, you're not even thinking about opening no club.
No, and if they open up a club, it has to be, you're talking about social distancing, You're talking about
Yeah,
people,
you're talking about opening a club at 25% of what
right?
of the
And they
people
don't
that would
want to.
normally be there. You're talking about
I mean,
people
Right.
scrambling for tickets because there's only a few people that can get in, and it's
Yeah.
all really strange.
25%, like
It's very strange.
25% still gotta be able to say, I'm gonna be in a safe space
Yeah.
indoors. So I'm
I
like,
don't know in New York, but here, like my restaurant, we can only open 6 hours. No, we can only open 8 hours a day.
And
And
what
we can't go
capacity?
past, and we can't go past 10 p.m. And we had 40% the capacity that we
40%.
used to be. And every weekend, every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we lose. I can't even count how many clients we lose because we have to send them away. We got all our tables are booked. All our tables are booked. And the people are eating and drinking, so they're marinating at the tables. They're not, you can't tell them, look,
Right, because
gotta
they
get outta
also
here.
not doing that on a regular.
for
Yeah.
a club situation. I got friends here in Sao Paulo. The dude owns 5 clubs. He's crying right now. He's crying. He's crying.
People have to change
He's
their
balling.
habits. They have to change their habits, especially the shelter people. They'll have to change it. Otherwise, they're looking at the end.
But the whole club
Period.
I mean, if you take all aspects of the club situation, it's not conducive to what they're trying to preach us to do now. It's totally the opposite. It's about being far from people when we're used to being
Right.
close.
Right.
It's about sharing germs.
Right.
When we're talking about
Yeah.
not sharing germs,
Yeah.
Right.
it's about approaching strangers when we're trying to stay close to people we know and know where they've been.
Yeah, and it's also about now you've had to make one of the reasons I haven't gone out, and there's so many invites and so many things, and with all due respect, is then you have a couple of drinks, including myself. You have a couple of one drink too many, and now you feel social. You feel like it's okay to be. Let me go next to you. Let me give you a hug. And no,
You
no,
wash your mouth.
no.
You wash
That's
your
not a
mouth.
chance I'm willing to take. So no, I'm good. I stay right where I'm at.
And the way we carry ourselves, the way the people, the customers carry themselves in shelter, unless.
And that's a good thing, what you're saying, John, but unfortunately we can't do it now.
No, you can't.
That's love.
I think that for the scene, maybe the thing that would work, or not now in New York because it's getting colder now. But if there's no answers by spring, I think the things that will kick off good will be the outdoor stuff. Anything outdoor, any kind of outdoor events, they might kick off good because at least you can keep away, like the Fort Greene situation or something like that. You
Yeah,
keep
but
a little bit of a distance.
So Khahim, what you're saying is exactly right, except when I see there were a bunch of outdoor events this whole summer. When I see them, what I see is that if I went there, I feel, and maybe I'm in my mind, I have to spend a lot of time saying no, don't come over here. No, hey,
I see that. No, I saw that.
I don't want to spend my time like that. So
I
I'm
was
like,
looking
you know
at
what?
that. I saw a couple.
In reality, though,
A couple in Brooklyn. I had my mouth open. I was like,
I'll be
they
honest.
got masks on, but they're like right there on top of each other.
Right there. Like,
yeah, in reality, I have to say, as somebody who has done some of these pop-up events outside, because we've been doing funk box pop-ups outside where people can feel like they are able to manage their
Where's
own
the bear's mask?
I found that on a whole, people are respectful of your space.
mm-hmm.
You don't have to. So the concern about you saying like, I'm going to have to spend a lot of time saying no.
Right.
You don't really have to do that. The first time somebody comes up to you, you can be like, hey, and give them your elbow. And right there, they're going to know that boundary and respect it throughout.
Mm.
That has been my experience, right?
Okay.
I also know
and I
because
respect
people
and
have
trust your
come to me,
experience.
but I also know that people have come to me and been like, "Oh my God, you're out there doing this and doing that," and I say to them, "Yeah, I know that you think whatever you think based on what you see, but I know exactly how I'm moving, so I'm not putting myself at risk, certainly not because I have a freaking daughter that I have to think about in my family, and that is the most important thing to me, right? So even though it may look crazy in a moment, I know that it's actually not crazy, right? Because I know I'm not letting y'all motherfuckers roll up on me.
Right.
And I know that if I do decide I'm going to give you a hug, I'm also sanitizing myself. And I'm also doing what I have to do to protect myself and make sure that I'm okay, or that at least I feel comfortable in my space.
But you're in control. You're running the thing.
Right.
Some of these idiots, when they listen, I see you talk to somebody that's drinking a 40 outside and they're coming to the party.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what happens. You know, we know our boundaries. We know how to take care of ourselves.
Yeah.
But somebody who's, and especially when we were on 21st Street, you know, they're sitting out there drinking 40s out there on 21st Street. When they start drinking at the corner, by the time they get there, they're completely drunk.
Right.
And then they go from shaking your hand, and this is before COVID. I'm talking about last summer.
Grabbing you up by the neck.
They're putting their hand on you, and you have to tell, yo, man, back off. You know, oh, I'm sorry, man, I'm just a little drunk. And the point I'm trying to make is if we start to do things on a week-to-week basis, people are not going to have that self-constraint.
Yeah.
Right now, you're doing pop-ups.
And that's what I said also, saying, I'm not just talking about them. I'm also talking about me.
Right.
I might also have the one drink too many.
Right,
Like,
exactly.
oh my God, I'm so comfortable with my friends. I miss you guys so much. Like, no.
Can you imagine me, wait a minute, Ray, can you imagine me being with Dale for half an hour and then coming?
We're screwed. Now y'all working together.
That's
now
it.
John the cop is around. No.
Exactly.
No.
No, it won't work. It won't work. That's why I don't go out anywhere.
I do have a question here in the chat for Khahim from our friend Be Polite. The question is, this is totally outside of everything that we've been talking about.
I like it.
It is, were you dancing before you started going to the underground clubs, and how did that change your dance style?
I was roller skating.
Oh.
Before I went to the garage, I was roller skating, and I was popping. I was part of a crew called Disco Players, and it did change my style. I started to see, because I was going to the loft and the garage, then these underground clubs, and it did influence. It took me away from the hip hop element and put me more in a more freestyle element, which is house. And I enjoyed that more because it was more, it was more, you could put yourself into the style that you want. It wasn't, because you pop, you could do your style too. Let me backtrack on that. Hold on. And whatever dance, you can put your own style, but I felt that there was more possibility of creativity. That's all. That there was more freeness to it, that you could actually maybe invent things. So then who knows? I would not stand here and tell you that me and my friends are the originators of everything, but I can tell you this: everyone's influenced by something. And there's a good group of my peers that I grew up with who were dancing, and we were always in pairs. There was always a pair. So or me and Mike, or Tim and Alistair, or, there was always pairs. And we would go out it was like bragging rights more than anything. It was competitive in a sense, but competitive friendly. We were all brothers. We were all good. There was never no fight about it. But and today, I see the dances around the world, but I'll never be the one to go be like, you don't even know where that came from. You don't know where that came from. You don't know. But yeah, it definitely influenced me evolving my dance style. And yes, I was dancing before, but it was more the popping. I was popping and roller skating. I love roller skating.
All right. This is about the time where we should at least give you an opportunity. I know that lots of us are doing different things. Some of them may or may not be online or available for people. But we'd like to give everybody that's on here an opportunity to just let us know if there's something that you want us to check out, or if there's something that you have going on, or a friend of yours that you want to have them get some support. If there's something like that, we'd love to hear about it now also.
I got a Brazilian brothel.
Oh, yeah.
See, the thing coming from you, Khahim, I don't know if that's real or not. So I have to ask. Let me represent the people. Are you serious or no? Because
Actually, I got this. Coincidentally, this is right on my shirt. This is what
oh no,
got.
I saw all that because
This is.
So
this
I have
is
a question about that shirt and the name of the restaurant.
Thai guy.
Is guy right? Is guy
Thai
actually
guy.
a word in is that how you say it in it is?
Yes, it is.
Thank you, because I didn't know if you were just doing a play on
We
words.
all know what pad thai is correctly, right?
So does it also mean guy?
So guy is actually chicken. So if you Google pad thai guy, you will find the dish done with chicken.
Got it. That's a good play on words.
That is.
So I did that. That's exactly. I had to ask the Brazilians though, is it gay or guy? Just to be sure.
Right.
I just want to make sure because I don't want to be you start making jokes, you know. So, but yeah, I had to ask because everywhere's different. The pronunciation could be different. So
Correct.
But yeah, so I've always had something outside of dance, I think a lot of my friends who are teaching around the world doing their thing now had that was their core and that was their life. I think that, and I actually admire that. I just think that I was afraid back in the day to do that. I thought that I didn't see the long distance run. I didn't see it, and I was afraid to have money today and not have money for 3 weeks or 3 months, and then have a lot of money again. And then, so I never had that mentality. I always had that mentality to hustle and have the money today, always, always, always. And also I got in trouble too. So trouble kind of helped me to stay down a little bit.
And let Red hear your message to me, by the
Right.
way.
I remember when I was, well, I think almost everybody knows I was locked up. So when I remember being in like the TV room and going, oh shit, that's my boy, that's my boy. They were like, shut up, nigga, you don't know nobody. I was like, no, that dude right there. Oh, that dude right there, that video, or that one too. Y'all know them. I know them too. All of them. We boys. So why didn't they come in to visit you then? Oh yeah, that's a good question.
Oh, wait a minute.
That's a good question.
16.
And when I got out, I was on some parole. I can't play around. I got to get a family going. I got to do a job. I can't play with this. But then, you find your ways. But I admire, always, always, always respect and love dance. And if I could have done what some of these guys are doing to live from it, in hindsight, I would have went for it. But I was shook back in the day. I was like, all right, you go do that. Go to that audition. I'm going to go to this job. Clearly, I'm going to get paid. I don't know.
That's because the careers that they built for themselves really didn't exist.
Yeah.
Well, I know some fell into it, or some just didn't see another thing to do. That's just their passion all the way around the board. That's just what that's what they do, and that's what and to this day, they're gonna die doing that, which is awesome.
And that's what they're willing to take the chance on. And that's where it comes, what you're saying, Kai. They were willing to take that chance. And you're like, I gotta make sure I gotta pay this rent. I gotta do, I gotta know. And there's a difference between, but that's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing. It's
some of them are making it work really well for them, and some of them are taking it for granted. And it might not pan out in the end, but everybody takes their path. Everybody goes on their path to the way they want. And I still dream about, because I'm gonna stay in Brazil, that's for sure. Winter will never see me again. And I got my little girl. I almost brought her here today. She's at her mother's house, but I almost brought her here today.
Well, me and Sin are saving up our coins.
Yes, because I'm coming out there.
And we're coming. And we're gonna spend a couple of weeks with you because you don't go to Brazil for 2 days. So we're coming. So you just be ready for that.
No problem. You come, you eat.
And you told me a long time ago I could come. So we're coming now.
There's no question whatsoever. I knew when you was moving to Brazil, I was coming. So you've been there long enough. It's overdue. Yes, it is.
It went by like this.
Right. We may as well bring John, or wait, we can't even bring John because he's close with Khahim.
I
We should
know.
go with John, and we should make it.
John's coming too.
Ladies
You
and
know who's
gentlemen,
coming?
you heard it here first. Look out for the documentary.
Yes, yes, I'm coming.
And on that note, I have two things to say. One, John, do you have anything that you have going on that you want us to know about?
No, not at the moment. I'm just, just sitting around waiting for something different to happen.
And
When
now
they come to
on
Brazil.
that note, fellas, we've gone long past our actual slotted time, but I just want to ask you both the short version, if you even do, because I know you guys are friends. John, is there anything you would like to ask Khahim?
Oh, we talked, but let's see.
And Khahim is going to come back, vice versa. And there's no pressure. You don't have to
I
ask.
think
him
we already,
anything.
you know what? That would have been a good one, but I think we smashed that the other day because
Yeah,
we
we
talked to each
smashed
other.
it.
the
I
other
didn't
day.
ask you about the other day. We're here now.
No, but we discussed everything. We were on the phone for a couple of hours.
I can't stand y'all. I can't stand y'all, not even
Before
one bit.
or after the
You cheated.
flyer? I want to know, was
You
it
cheated.
before or after the flyer? After.
Right.
It was
Before you got
after.
you would be together?
No, we would talk. We talk off and on. We always in
So
touch off and
so
on.
it wasn't.
But we talked after the flyer.
It
So
wasn't.
you guys prepped each other for this. This is a setup.
No,
No.
we didn't. We didn't. Not at all. It's just that because I hadn't heard from him for a while during this COVID thing.
Yes, it's like, let's
So-
just catch up.
I was just sending him every once in a while to find out he's okay. And then when we found out when we found out we were together, I'm saying, oh, you know what? Let me just give him a call. We didn't talk about this at all. We just we said, oh, we'll just see what happens when we get on here. And we said,
So I'll go back to my original question then. John, is there any question you have for your friend Khahim? That's been your friend for many years that you may or may not have ever asked him?
I asked him everything I wanted to.
Okay, good. Khahim, vice versa.
No.
Mm.
Oh, I have a request though. Back to the first part. If anyone out there would like to follow my page,
Give it.
that would be nice.
Give it. Tell us about it.
My page is Pad Thai Guy Brazil.
And ladies and gentlemen, Guy is G-A-I.
That's right.
And Brazil is with an S,
Guy,
not a
Guy,
Z.
T-H-A-I-G-A-I.
And the Brazil is with a S, not a Z.
Whew. Start from the
Because
beginning and do it
Brazilian-
over.
Brazilian spell it with it. Oh, so it's PADTHAIGAIBRASIL.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen.
I tried to get the Pad Thai Guy, but there's some black chick that got that name doing I don't know what.
He's doing
Not
chicken.
doing food though. She's not
That's
doing
right.
Pad Thai Guy. Not, I
Maybe it's
don't know
a
what she's
training.
doing. It might be the bear's friend. I don't know.
It's so funny because in the chat over here, they were like, did y'all ever explain about the teddy bear and the snake?
What y'all need to know, people that are still with us and watching and listening, is that I
I
told
was just going to
Cynthia.
ask that.
Cynthia's
What
over here
about
dressed like that bitch Carol Baskin. With her-
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the snake too. What's up with the snake?
What's
The
his name?
snake.
Oh, the snake. This is,
The snake.
this is Ozzy, and he is a puppet.
Which makes
And-
it better.
Red, I got a question for
And
you.
you thought the bear was doing something back
Yeah,
here.
I'm looking at the bear.
Ozzy is a puppet, and Ozzy came from. I
Okay.
wouldn't even say. No, I was in IKEA, shopping around at IKEA, and this was one of the displays on like a bed or something. So I was like, oh, I like this snake. So I put it on like a scarf, and I walked all around the store and just did whatever you do at IKEA, and I ended up purchasing my stuff or whatever. But I still had this on. Forgot I had it on, and I walked out of
Oh,
IKEA.
God.
I did, and I walked out of IKEA with
That was
Ozzy.
convenient.
And then
like
when
a
I got
motherfucker.
outside, I was like, oh. And now he lives at my home. He's lived here for a few years now, and it's a puppet. But people always like, really, it's a puppet, and I'm like, yeah, it's a
Red, where was
fucking
the-
puppet.
That bear.
Question, Red. Where was it? I know this was Cynthia, but where was the first place you met me? Do you remember?
You?
Yeah, no, Cynthia, I know.
Oh,
where
yeah,
I
you
met
know.
Me? Oh, I don't remember. I
I
I
don't
can't
either.
even
I'm
make up a
trying to
story.
remember.
I can't even make up a story. I don't remember, but I would think
I
it
don't
was
remember
probably
either. That's why
somewhere
I'm
with
asking.
Ejo. I was probably with Ejo somewhere.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely was with Egypt. It was definitely with Egypt. That's for sure.
but
Maybe
I
it was in
will
the
also
Bronx.
say I know I saw you long before
house in the
meeting
Bronx.
you with Ejo, but I couldn't tell you exactly where at all. It's all
I think it might
complicated.
have been in that house in the Bronx, maybe one of his apartments when he lived in the Bronx.
Oh, when he was roommates with the friends.
Yeah.
With Nick
Maybe.
and Sean and all those. Okay, that makes sense to
Maybe
me.
then. I think it was maybe then. I was just thinking about it. I remember, I was thinking, how did I meet you both? When? But I remember Cynthia right away. I said, oh yeah, I remember that. We exchanged weed favors.
That's true.
So
Tunnel.
how
I
we
was
met.
in the tunnel. I'll tell you the story. I was in the tunnel and I was by myself, and Khahim, typical Khahim fashion, I was actually smoking on the dance floor. And Khahim comes by and he was like, hey, let me get a drag of that. And I was like, okay.
Give it. Give it.
This is pre-coronavirus, of course.
And I was like, okay. And then he came back later and was like, oh, so you gave me a blunt. Let me buy you a drink. And I was like, okay.
Give it.
That all makes sense.
And the rest is history.
You remember the night next time I came back with weed, I had that sack.
That's right. You had a big ass bag. And he was like, that's for you. I was like, oh, okay.
Wow.
Well, guys, I hate to cut off this great time, but we've been on here long past our bedtime. And this has been really, really, really fun. And one of the most, I think, real and raw bedtime stories that we have had thus far.
The date.
I
Absolutely.
appreciate you both being with us.
Yes.
All right.
This has
that's a
been
good
just
one.
great. And John, maybe you say I tried to humanize you, but you're right. None of it worked. None of it. Not even a tiny bit. Not even a little bit.
Not even a bit.
Well,
you
but
gave it a shot.
I love you both. And Sin, what do you want to say?
I love you both too. And I'm so thankful.
John, you got that recipe for her, or do you have it
I'm
just?
gonna hit him up.
Do you even have it written down, or is it only your head?
John's potato salad is by far one of the best potato salads I have ever eaten in my life.
And so John Best, when your name did come up on our master list, and I said, so Sin, what are we gonna, do you have questions? Do you have whatever, blah, blah, blah. She said, yeah, I know what I'm gonna ask John about that potato salad. He said that 3 weeks ago.
I swear I wanted that.
Just so you know.
He burns. He can burn. He's good. He's a good chef.
Not like you, baby. But anyway, I gotta get
Right?
You cook. I remember you cook, bro. I remember you cook good.
So, yeah, Cynthia, I'll tell you, it's nothing. It's
You gotta
nothing
pay for that.
special. It's just a tweak.
It's just the magic. It's just the magic, baby.
Magic that we're not gonna share on this live.
It's just the magic.
No, I'm gonna write it. I'm gonna write it down.
Oh,
He's gonna send you.
I'm gonna.
He's gonna send you an email. It's gonna say a little bit of love, a little bit of magic.
I'm gonna write
okay.
Cup of-
Put your pinky
One
A
toe.
little
cup
bit
of-
country, a little bit rock and roll.
It's gonna take me
a little
I'm
bit,
gonna
one
write
cup
it
of
down.
know-how, a little bit of spoon of love, and you're gonna be like, oh, okay, got it.
Okay.
I can't wait. I can't wait.
Do it, John, because I got a sidebar before we cut off really quickly. Little Ray, people love his curry goat. I was not the curry goat maker, and I started having goat in my life. And I asked Ray, could you give me a recipe for curry goat? And Ray said, I've never written it down. I know it in my head. And I said to him, but what about your family and your people or whatever? And he said, you know what? I should write it down. And so for me, he gave me he wrote down the recipe. And I took that and I went to all the other things that I had researched about how to make curry goat and put together my own little recipe. But yeah, that matters. You guys have children and things, write down those recipes. They're going to want them.
Yeah, I'm gonna write it down and I'll send it to you, Sin.
I'm excited.
And she's gonna make it for me. Thanks, Sin.
Yes, I'll make it for you. But I won't tell you how to make it. Oh no.
I don't need to know. I don't need to know.
I'm gonna keep that
I
secret.
got my own thing. I'll make the curry goat. You make the potato salad together. We got a kit.
Oh, that's a
Heard?
hell of a kick. The potato salad and the curry go. Oh,
It's a
baby.
kit. You heard?
Yes.
Well, guys, thank you so much.
It's been
Thank you.
such a wonderful time
Thank
spending
you.
with you guys.
Okay, Kyle, we talk, huh?
All right, for sure.
Okay. All
Okay,
right.
love you guys. Thank you everybody.
So much. And
Good night.
whoever's still here with us, thank you so much for staying with us because this has been a lot of fun and things happened and there was name dropping and everything.
It was name dropping.
Right? I ain't scared.
I like it.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Bye. Good
Thank
night.
you. Good.
We coming to see you soon, so you know.
All right.
Get ready.
Anytime.
Okay.
Love you guys. Thank you
Love
for
you.
inviting me.
You too.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Get off the teddy bear. Get off her.
Yeah.
And the bear all night, the bear's like, hey.
He's like,
Hey.
what's going on?
I don't even know his name. Nobody
You don't
introduced
need
us.
a
I don't even
name.
know his name.
He doesn't need a name.
Right.
You want that camera to
That
go.
bear's out here like shady, shady
He wanted the
nights.
camera. John said it. He wanted the camera to go away. He wanted everybody to go to sleep.
We began to rock. Stay. I can't stand none of y'all. I can't stand none of y'all. Good night.
Good night.
Okay.